1964, a woman was murdered in New York City while 38 of her neighbors watched from their windows. Nobody called the police. Nobody came outside. Nobody wanted to get involved. This story is taught in almost every psychology class on Earth. It has a name, the bystander effect. It's been used in textbooks, TED Talks, in true crime documentaries for 60 years. There's just one problem. It's not true. Not the way you were told anyway. March 13th, 1964. Queens, New York. It's just after 3 a.m. A 28-year-old woman named Kitty Genovese is walking home from her job managing a bar. She parks her car about 100 feet from her apartment building. The Kew Gardens neighborhood, quiet, residential, the kind of place where nothing happens. A man named Winston Mosley is waiting. He follows her. He attacks her with a knife. She screams, loud enough that lights start flicking on in the apartment building across the street. A voice yells down, "Let that girl alone!" Mosley runs off, but he doesn't go far. He waits, watches, and a few minutes later, when no one comes outside, he comes back and finishes what he started. Kitty Genovese dies in the stairwell of her own apartment building. 2 weeks later, the New York Times runs a story that would change psychology forever. The headline claims 38 witnesses saw or heard the attack, and not one of them called the police while it was happening. The story painted a horrifying picture, an entire neighborhood of people peeking through their curtains, watching a woman get stabbed to death, and doing absolutely nothing. It became a symbol, proof that modern city life had made people cold, disconnected, selfish. Psychologists Bibb Latani and John Darley read the story and asked a chilling question. Why didn't anyone help? Their answer became one of the most famous theories in psychology, the bystander effect. The idea that the more people who witness an emergency, the less likely any single person is to step in, because everyone assumes someone else already has. It's a compelling theory. It's also been tested and retested for 60 years, and there's real evidence behind it. But here's the twist most people never hear. Decades later, journalists and researchers went back and actually dug through the police records, court transcripts, and interviews from that night. What they found didn't match the famous story at all. There weren't 38 witnesses who saw the entire attack. Most people only heard fragments. A scream in the middle of the night, easy to mistake for a drunken argument or a couple fighting. The attack also happened in 2 separate locations, minutes apart, meaning no single witness saw the whole thing unfold. People did try to help. One neighbor shouted out the window and scared the attacker off the first time. Another neighbor, a woman named Sophia Farrar, ran downstairs and held Kitty in her arms as she was dying. At least one call was made to the police, though it came late, and dispatch reportedly didn't treat it with urgency. And this is the part that stings the most. The number 38 wasn't based on rigorous investigation. It came from a conversation between a New York Times editor and the city's police commissioner, and it stuck. Once it was printed, it became fact. Nobody really fact-checked it again for years. So the story that built an entire psychological theory, cold, indifferent, uncaring bystanders, was itself a media exaggeration, maybe even a myth. Here's where it gets interesting, though, because even though the Kitty Genovese story was distorted, the underlying psychology it inspired turned out to be real. In the decades since, hundreds of controlled experiments have confirmed the bystander effect exists. It's called diffusion of responsibility. When more people are present during an emergency, each individual feels less personally responsible to act because they assume someone else will. It's why, in a crowded room, if you ever need help, medically, physically, anything, the advice is to point at one specific person and say, "You call 911. Not somebody help, because somebody often means nobody. So the theory is real. The science holds up. The founding story? Exaggerated by a newsroom trying to sell papers. What's almost more unsettling than the original myth is this. For 60 years, millions of people believed a lie about human nature. That we're cold, that we don't care about each other, that if you're ever in danger in public, you're on your own. And the truth is messier but kinder. People did try to help Kitty Genovese. Imperfectly, too late, but they tried. Maybe the real lesson isn't about bystanders at all. Maybe it's about how easily a story, even a wrong one, can shape what an entire society believes about itself. If a story like this can convince the world we're indifferent to each other for 60 years, what else have we been told that simply isn't true? If this kind of story, the ones hiding underneath the psychology textbooks, is your kind of thing, this channel is basically built for you. I dig up the real history behind the studies, the myths, and the moments that shaped how we understand the human mind. Subscribe if you want the next one. And if you already know a psychology story that deserves the same treatment, drop it in the comments. I might make it the next video.